Fox host Tucker Carlson is desperately trying to deflect criticism directed at him for spreading the racist conspiracy theory, the Great Replacement or White Replacement, following the mass shooting at the Tops supermarket in Buffalo, New York. That shooting, of course, killed 10 African Americans. That shooter wrote a 180-page manifesto containing racist anti-Semitic language. And one part he pointed out how low white birth rates around the world were a crisis that will ultimately result in the complete racial and cultural replacement of the European people. Now, Tucker Carlson, however, in this next video claims that no, it's not the racist hatred, the rhetoric. No. This is just a case of mental illness. Take a look.
So they're continuing to tell you, in the face of all available evidence, that the mass murder you saw over the weekend in Buffalo was inspired by hateful right-wing rhetoric, when in fact that mass murder was committed by someone with diagnosed mental illness that the adults around him apparently ignored. Okay? So you saw a shooting by a crazy person that has been hijacked by partisan forces to crush political dissent, to attack civil liberties in this country. You should care about that.
All right, so now that right there, saying that he is mentally ill, that's a lie. That's not true. The suspect was reported to have undergone a psychiatric evaluation, but it was not publicly disclosed if he was diagnosed with a mental illness. Again, we don't actually know if he was mentally ill, but at the same time, blaming mental illness is not only super offensive to people with actual mental illness, because yes, the vast majority of people who have a mental illness do not go out and murder a bunch of people, especially black people, in racist hate crimes. But it's also just a super lazy excuse for, again, somebody who was indoctrinated into far-right conspiracy theories. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, it looks like a classic case of deflection. I mean, all eyes are on him for good reason, because he pushed this at the top of his lungs, for years now about Great Replacement. And when people pushed back, he doubled down, he tripled down. So, of course, he wants you to think that there's some other scapegoat. And, maybe Tucker Carlson isn't the only catalyst here, but right. He is by far the biggest mainstream purveyor of white supremacy in this country. I mean, he took these explicitly white nationalist talking points and he mainstreamed them. I mean, as much as the Republican Party dog whistles, nobody has been able to accomplish what Tucker has. So, of course, he's going to say it's, mental health. Of course, these Republicans are going to go on Fox News and claim it's video games and all of this. But I think that they know what the truth is, and they're just trying to obfuscate. But absolutely make no mistake about it, Tucker has blood on his hands, and now he has to live with that. And I think that he probably deep down thinks that what the shooter did is good, because I mean, if you genuinely believe that you're being replaced or something like that, and democracy is dying, then if he's actually truthful and sincere, then he probably agrees with what the shooter did. He just won't tell you. Either that, or he's just a news actor and he's just saying things to galvanize white people. Either way, he's guilty, at least indirectly for this, obviously indirectly for this, but like, he's guilty and he doesn't want to admit that he played a part in this. Same with Ben Shapiro. I mean, the Christchurch shooter actually cited Ben Shapiro. I believe that was the shooter in his manifesto. And then, Ben Shapiro, of course, had to obfuscate, and now he's obfuscating right now, saying, of course, it's not Tucker Carlson, because I don't know, like, if it were me, I don't know that I would be able to live with myself if I encouraged somebody to do violence like this. So, this is cognitive dissonance, what we're seeing. And it's more than cognitive dissonance. It's him really trying to propagandize the situation and convince his audience that it's not me. This is just a lone wolf. What I talk about, if you think violence is the answer, then you're mentally ill. But I mean, sure, maybe there were some issues with this individual in particular that were unaddressed. I'm not necessarily sure. But either way, Tucker doesn't get to escape accountability here. I mean, he will escape accountability, but he doesn't get to escape blame, more specifically.
Right. And look, I've been reading news articles, of course, like, oh, he displayed some erratic behavior, like going into class with wearing a full hazmat suit, in the midst of the COVID pandemic. Again, I think a lot of that just happens to be more trolly behavior than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, that's kind of what the 4chan boards and all those, different forums are kind of all about. Well, we're going to troll people, we're going to own the libs or whatever like that, and just play pranks and things like that. But again, at the same time, this guy meticulously planned out this attack and went to all of these boards and believed in these conspiracy theories, believed in this just absolute hatred towards other people, immigrants, Jewish people, especially black people, which he specifically scoped this place out. In fact, let's see, Gendron had claimed online research in choosing Buffalo as a site of attack, saying the zip code has a higher black population than other locations that he had considering. He'd been considering going to a church or an elementary school. Again, monstrous on all counts, absolutely monstrous. But he chose the market because, well, there was going to be more people, especially black people. And so that's where I wanted to go. And by the way, he had also planned on continuing the rampage. If police had not cornered him or caught him at that time, if he was able to escape, he probably would have went to the churches and the elementary schools. But I want to go back to what you were talking about, with Tucker Carlson. Look, I think it's a little bit of both. What you were saying is he is a news actor, obviously, but at the same time, he does believe, I think, that what he's espousing is good. I think he does have a legitimate hatred of immigrants, black people, etc. And I think he also knows, and this plays really, really well with the base. That's why I'm the #1 rated cable news host. And so, both of those things are going well for him. And so, yeah, he's going to continue doing that. And by the way, I have some examples of some of the stuff that he was saying. I'm going to show you that right now.
Of course, you're not working to import as many new citizens as we can into the United States to replace all the disobedient ones who didn't vote for us. In other words, you're being replaced, and there's nothing you can do about it. So shut up. The great replacement theory, it's a lie, they yelled. George Soros has nothing to do with that. Stop talking. They said we were espousing something called the great replacement theory, a well-known racist fantasy. The great replacement. They acknowledge that it's real, and they love it. This policy is called the great replacement, the replacement of legacy Americans with more obedient people from faraway countries. The great replacement plan is working. Now, I know that the left and all the little gatekeepers on Twitter become literally hysterical if you use the term replacement, if you suggest that the Democratic Party is trying to replace the current electorate, the voters now casting ballots, with new people, more obedient voters from the third world.
I mean, look at, that's pretty clear, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he can't be more explicit. And I just want to direct everyone's attention to an animated video created by Mark Fier. He does a lot of really good leftist content, atheist content, and he just released a video today on the great replacement theory. And it's funny, but it's also educational. And the takeaway is that this is not new at all. This has always been the white supremacist message. Before it was Italians, it was all kinds of different people who came over. And it's never going to change. This is always going to be what they say. So this isn't necessarily something new. It's not a new message at all. It's just that Tucker Carlson has found a way to take this message and repopularize it again, which is so dangerous. It's one thing for a television host to say this. It's an entirely different thing for him to say this and then not drop a ton, millions of people just tune out and say, right, okay, this is too far. This is really explicit. This sounds like KKK stuff. And the fact that he's still the #1 news show in America shows that we've got a lot of problems in this country. And white supremacy has always been an issue in this country. But but to see how easily duped his viewers are into believing the most explicit white supremacist conspiracy theories, it really should be a wake-up call for a lot of people. Like, it should horrify people. People of color already know that this is prominent, but white people now are getting to see for the first time just how quickly and popular these beliefs spread. So it's time to wake up and acknowledge that this is a very, very serious issue, and we have to take it seriously and push back. Whenever you hear somebody in your own, and I'm not trying to come up with some individual solution because this needs to come down, from the government, but individually, we have to be really assertive. There's this Uber driver who went viral for this couple came into the car and they said, "Oh, well, thank goodness you're white." And he said, "Get out. That's racist. That's inappropriate." So we have to confront this. Being not racist, that's great, right? But you have to literally be forcefully and vocally anti-racist in this climate, especially now. Because, I just see, like, with my family members, they might share something online and they don't even realize it's a QAnon meme, not to change the subject. So I have to really constantly educate them, try to explain to them, like, give them some media literacy training to the extent that I can. It's an ongoing battle, and I feel like it's going to continue to get worse. Because, if somebody in this country is economically, depraved and, they see that this news host is saying, here's why, it's immigrants. It's because you're being replaced, and they don't have any other explanation for that, it's going to land a lot more. I'm not saying that, like, if economic conditions improved, if we had a socialist utopia, that white supremacy would just go away. It's never going to go away under any circumstance. But, it makes the breeding ground a lot more fertile with these situations. Absolutely. And people are much more susceptible to radicalization. And I just want people to really look out for that.
Absolutely. In fact, to back that up, 30% of Republicans say that because things have gotten so far off track, true American patriots may have to resort to violence in order to save our country. And so this is a situation that we're in. We have a flourishing white supremacist movement. Again, Tucker Carlson literally getting praised by people like Nick Fuentes for using their talking points, David Duke, all of that. Now, Tucker Carlson did not originate white supremacy or white nationalism. And again, we all know that. And he's not the sole cause. But as you pointed out, he's a pretty big purveyor, one of the biggest purveyors with an enormous reach. And all of the stuff that he is saying has been normalized in the Republican Party. And that is incredibly dangerous. And by the way, I just have to note that there are certain leftists out there that are saying, oh, well, Tucker Carlson, we shouldn't take him off the air or anything like that. Or, I believe in free speech. And he's not really explicitly going out there and saying that, that you should have violence against immigrants or anything like that. That's very disappointing to see. It's very disappointing.
Yeah, he absolutely should be deplatformed. And I don't use that word lightly.
Yeah.
But what he is doing is instigating violence. Like, it is dangerous. It's not just that he's spreading misinformation, but this should not happen. But, people have gone after his advertisers, and he doesn't have much, to my understanding. But Fox keeps him on because he brings in eyeballs, and that's, better overall for the network. So it's a really dark, dangerous situation. And, if we can't even agree that a white supremacist shouldn't be on cable, then I don't know how to go forward as a country, right? It's dark times. It's the darkest timeline. Yeah.
Yeah. We're in the bad place, Mike. We're in the bad place.
It's scary.
It is.